Hi, I'm Carl and welcome back to my shop. Today I'm going to start a project that I've been putting off for quite some time. Something I'm really looking forward to, and that is an outfeed table for my table saw. And I want to make it look similar to my work table in my shop. So I'm really looking forward to making this outfeed table. So let's get started. First things first, I really don't think I'm going to need this little jig anymore. So let's get rid of that. And we gotta make a little bit of room right here, right? So let's take the super jaws and kind of move this out of the way too. Now this table is made from construction grade lumber. I had some older lumber laying around, so I decided to use the older lumber first, cut it up. Let's face it, this project uses lots of smaller pieces. Some get cut to length like here, some will get cut on a table saw, will be ripped on a table saw later. So it's a good time to use up some of these pieces. And the scraps I can just burn in my wood stove, since this was filmed in the end of February and it's still chilly outside. Here, of course, I'm just using my table saw to rip down some of these pieces for my new outfeed table. Here I'm just showing you that I marked on the block a distance of 2 inches, so I can easily mark the position of the screws. Here I can position 1.5 inches up and also 2 inches over to the side. Instead of using tape measure so much, this just kind of speeds things up and keeps it very accurate. Here I have a piece of 3/4 inch lumber underneath the center piece, the one that's laying down. And that's to raise it up 3/4 of an inch because I want a 3/4 of an inch offset on these legs. This is the beginning construction phase of the legs. Gluing them up, and I'm going to drill them, and then of course I'll screw them together, which will hold the legs in place while the glue dries very nicely. You can also notice that I have a piece of wood that's clamped down to my workbench behind this leg assembly, so I can easily just push against the leg assembly and the leg assembly won't move. It's great use for these hold downs and for my dog hose on this bench. And here I'm just adding the other side of the leg to make the leg nice and square. I really like this leg configuration. It's a little bit bulky, but that's what I really like about it. I like the fact that when I use it, it's on a table, it's very sturdy, it's very strong, it doesn't wobble, it doesn't rack, it's very solid. Of course, it does take a little bit more lumber, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. I use the same pattern, although a little bit larger pattern, for my large work table that I made last spring. And this outfeed table I'm patterning largely after my large work table that I made last spring. That's the nice thing about woodworking. Once you find a design that you really like, you can modify it slightly for other applications also. My large work table, as you know, is 6 feet by 8 feet. This outfeed table I'm building today is going to be 3 feet by 4 feet. They're both 36 inches tall, so they'll match up nicely if I ever want them to. I like to keep all my workbenches the same height in the shop. Here I'm just squaring things up. I'm putting 2 legs together by adding a stringer that goes across. And of course I glued it in place and square it up and screw it. Now I'm going to glue on the feet onto the bottom of the legs. I could have did this standing up basically so the glue would not run down, but I decided to do it this way because I'm using the tabletop as a reference. I want the leg and the back of the leg to be flush, and that's so I can add a caster to it later. Here I'm just using a 3/4 inch scrap piece of wood to position the offset of the leg so that it's nice and even and it looks good. Just simply add 2 screws to hold this, and there will be another piece going onto this foot as well. And here I'm just putting the glue onto the very bottom of this foot that go on the leg. A little bit of glue, some screws. Hey, it's good. It'll be in place, so it won't ever come out. Won't ever move. This glue holds things so good, it's stronger than the wood itself. Here I'm using that 3/4 inch piece of scrap again, just to get my offset correctly. And notice that the bottom of the feet and the leg on the tabletop is off flush, which would make this really nice for, like I said, for my caster that goes out to later on. It's a caster that's used to elevate the work table when you want to roll the caster around. And you'll see that in a few moments. Okay, now I'm just going to attach these 2 leg assemblies together. Change the angle here a little bit, but you get the idea. I just add on to these leg assemblies, these stringers, spacers. Not really sure what to call them, but it's what hold the 2 leg assemblies together. I laid one down, put some glue on it. I like to glue all these projects together, my workbenches together. I don't ever plan on taking these apart, and quite frankly, they're not going to come apart. But if I glue the workbenches together, I find that it totally eliminates any racking, which is what I really want. I want to get this as even as possible by measuring it out. I want to get as square as possible too. Here I'm just using a level to make sure that it looks like the sides level up nicely. I'm not totally concerned about square, although I want to get as square as possible. The tabletop that goes on top of this is actually larger on all sides. It's a good hangover on all sides. So, I'm not totally concerned about squareness, but I want to get as best as possible. Okay, now it's time to cut the plywood top. Here I'm using a bore saw blade along with their edge clamp. It's a very inexpensive way to get into a track saw basically. I already have the circular saw. So for just slightly over $100 I was able to get into the track saw world and get very, very straight cuts. I'm sure someday I'll upgrade my track saw to a little better design. This one has quite a bit of plastic in it, the Boro, which keeps costs down. I don't expect it to last forever, but that's fine. It works good for what I need right now. And if you already own a circular saw, like I say, it's a great way for getting into the track saw world. Okay, it's time to put on the tabletop. This is going to be 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood for my tabletop. So I want my tabletop to be 1.5 inches thick. Just measuring it up, get things nice and even on all sides. Well, not actually on all sides. The side that goes towards the saw itself is going to be considerably farther. It's about 5 inches, 5.5 inches. Where all the other sides were about 1.5 overhang. Now I'm actually adding glue to my tabletop here. This is to eliminate any racking, make it super strong, super stable. The only downside to this is if I ever want to replace the top, hey, I can't, or it's going to be very difficult. If I ever do want to replace top, I'm sure I'll just add another piece of plywood on top of it. but I don't really anticipate that. I know other woodworkers have had their workbenches and they have it so they can replace the tabletops, and they never do it anyhow. Here I just put 4 screws in each corner to hold this piece of plywood in place. And then I add another piece of glue, and lots of glue, because I want this to adhere really, really well. Using Titebond. It's not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by any manufacturer or product line. I buy all this stuff with my own money. I have links at my Amazon. I have links in my description to all my Amazon links. There's a few other links too besides Amazon, but that's how I support my channel. It's through these links. And if you do purchase anything through these links, thank you. And it's at no extra cost to you. I greatly appreciate it, and it helps you out and it helps me out too. Okay, now I'm just placing where I'm going to put all the screws. I'm going to screw down this tabletop with 3-inch screws so that it can go through both layers of plywood and also into the frame of the table base below me. So this is going to be rock solid when it gets down. 3-inch screws through 1.5 inch of plywood, which means they'll go first 1.5 inches into the table base itself. I just like to use a hammer to tap the screws into place. It seems like it starts so much easier that way. That way I don't get any wandering when I start drilling my screws in. I just like to use a level in order to line up exactly over top of that stringer, I guess I'll call it, of the base of the table base assembly. I know exactly where to place my screws. And of course I can just use the ruler on the level to place my screws exactly evenly where I want them apart. And sometimes the screw falls over. That's okay. Right here I'm using an Eau de Watt drill. It's an 18-volt drill, and it's been upgraded to a lithium-ion battery, which you can actually buy 18-volt lithium-ion batteries for these older drills, which is a great way to get the best of both worlds of a cheap drill driver using a lithium-ion battery. I like to have one drill with an extra drill bit in it, and then another drill with the drill bit driver in it, so that I don't have to change it back and forth. Quick and easy. It's great. Okay, there you saw me just place the bottom shelf into place, which is just a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, a single layer. This gets all screwed down too, of course. This is 1.5 inch screws. So all this gluing and screwing the tabletop, the shelves into place, the bottom shelf, and so forth. Like I say, really make this rock solid. It's not going to wiggle at all, which is what I want. I already learned this from my big work table that I made last spring, and this is going to work out really fantastic. I'm excited about it. I'm happy to do this project. I've been putting off this work table for quite some time. I'm glad to finally get around to it. This table is going to be main used for an Outfeed table for my table saw, but it's also going to be mobile enough so that I can move it elsewhere in the shop if I ever want to have a smaller work table, or to butt it up to my large work table that I made last spring. Here I'm just trimming up the tabletop. You can never get them exactly perfect, so I just make it slightly bigger, and then I go around and cut all 4 sides with my track saw. And hey, it comes out perfect that way on all 4 sides, and I'm happy with it. Okay, now it's time for some trim. I'm going to use some 3/4 by 1.5 inch pine trim around the sides in order to hide the plywood edges. Gives it a much nicer look. Here I'm using a Rockler bandy clamp. These are really cool clamps for doing trim work, face frames, so forth. You just put it on the clamp and push it, and it has that like rubber band that holds your trim work in place. And I'm just going to use a few brads. Actually, they're pin nails, but pin this into place while the glue dries. Okay, now it's time to add the casters I was talking about. These casters are from Rockler. The casters can hold 400. The set of casters, all four of them together, can hold 400 and I believe 40 pounds. This table will not be that heavy, so there's no problem there. This kind of uses a cam lever effect to push down on the wheel once it's assembled, and it actually picks up the table so that you can move it around easily. And you'll see that just in a second here. I'm just using a handheld drill driver. It's kind of like a screwdriver, but for square screws. So I don't want to over tighten it, of course. I just put the wheel on, the caster itself, tighten it down with a ratchet. And guess what? You're in business. That's one of them. Now I got 3 more to go. Simple as that. Works pretty good. Do you like my nice Carhartt boots right here? The reason I wear these in the shop is the cold. The reason I wear these nice Carhartt boots in the shop is that right now the concrete floor is very cold. So my feet get cold sometimes in the shop, but they don't in these nice Carhartt boots. Very nice. I don't want to get my toe underneath there, but these boots are too big. One done, 3 to go. Okay, here I am just using my palm router. I wanted to get all the surfaces, have a nice round over of the tabletop. I did the top of the tabletop. I'm also going to do the underneath of the tabletop as well. Just so that whenever I touch it, I have a nice, smooth, round feeling to my hand. Of course, on the bottom side, you get a little bit of sawdust in your face. Some chips in your face, but oh well, that's part of woodworking. And I'm just taking my large belt sander. This is a 3x21 quarter cable belt sander. This is actually a quite old tool. This is back when Porter Cable actually made things in the United States. Because I have my boxes lost in Jacksonville, Tennessee, which is pretty cool. I'm just using my belt sander and then my rigid oscillating disc sander in order to get a nice smooth surface on my tabletop. Okay, and of course now it's time to do some painting. I'm using General Finishes General Finishes lap black paint on the legs and most of the vertical surfaces. Then on the tabletop and the bottom shelf, which are the horizontal surfaces, I'm going to be using Danish oil. And that's just so that I can reapply the Danish oil as it becomes worn, since this is a shop piece of furniture. I really like this color combination of the natural wood color, the pine color, along with the black. I've used it on my cabinet, my tool cabinet. This hangs on the wall that you've probably seen quite often in my videos. And also last spring on my large work table that I made. Which I have videos of both those builds if you'd like to go back and see those. See how I made them. So it's fun to watch projects, whether they're large projects or small projects. It's fun to watch, see how somebody else builds things. And here I'm just pouring on the Danish oil. I'm going to use old t-shirt rag in order to just smooth it around and apply it, and just let it soak into the plywood. I always wondered how far it can just really soak in. Since right underneath the first layer of plywood there's a layer of glue in the plywood, but it seemed to work pretty good on my large work table, so I think it'll work good here also. And I like the fact that it's so easy to apply another layer to touch it up. And 6 months from now, a year from now, whenever, when it gets a little bit beat up, or just starts looking a little bit old, and you want to refresh it. Okay, now it's time to use those casters. Just step down on them. It picks up the table. Do all 4 legs. The ones on that side, I actually had to use my hand to pick it up, which is fine. Now I'm just rolling it over to my large work table, so you can kind of compare the leg sizes. And as you'll see when I drop it down, it matches up perfectly to my large tabletop. So that if I ever want to make my large tabletop even larger, my large workbench even larger, I can. I really like this option of being able to bring my small Outfeed table and set it right up next to my large work table. They're the same height. You can extend my work table a lot longer for a very long project. I like that option. Okay, now it's time to roll the Outfeed table over to my table saw. Drop it into place. It's a little bit awkward getting back there to do that side by hand, but it's manageable. And I don't plan on moving this table a whole lot, so it'll be fine. I'm happy with it. I like having the workbench on the right side of the table saw that's been there for quite some time. It's a good place to place products and pieces just before I saw them. And as you can see here, the tabletop of the Outfeed table is just slightly lower, about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, and 1/8 of an inch below the table saw, which works out really nice. That's what I wanted. Well, there you go. You saw how easy this work table moves on the casters from Rockler, right down there. I really like those casters because when you're not using them, your work table sets on its own legs. So it's very stable, and because even locking casters sometimes want to move a little bit. So this won't move. And then when I do want to move it, I can just step down on those casters, and it pops up the work table, and I can move any place in my shop that I want, which is really great. I don't plan on moving very much, but I like all my work tables to be mobile. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Works great. This can be so handy. I can't tell you how handy this is going to be. I'm so used to anything over 18 inches when it comes off my table saw, it falls on the floor. And that's not very good. First of all, you got to pick up off the floor, which I do not like to do. The other thing is, there's always a chance of damaging the piece of wood when it hits the concrete floor. So this way, it can come right off the table saw onto my Outfeed table. It's much easier on me, it's much easier on the project, the workpiece. Originally I was planning on having the work table go even closer to the work table, but I'm going to try this. I think this will work. I don't think that 4-inch gap will matter too much, but I'll find out with time. So we'll live and learn and find out together about if that works or not. But one reason I decided against it was because my fence right here actually has a connection on the back side. So there has to be a little bit of a gap regardless in order for the fence to move properly. So anyhow, this is a project I've been really had a desire to build for the past several years and finally getting around to it. And I'm really happy with it. It should work out great. It's kind of, you know, I like the anticipation of starting new projects, but just as equally, and probably a little bit more so, I like the satisfaction feeling I get after completing the project. So now I got 2 work tables. I have my large 6-foot by 8-foot work table. It has dog holes in the center of the shop. And now I got my 3-foot by 4-foot work table that is the same height as my large work table. So I can always butt them together if I ever need to for even a longer workbench. This one originally I was thinking of putting dog holes in. Right now I'm going to hold off on that. Partly because I'm not sure if I'll use them or not, the dog holes. And also, I have a little concern that at some point in time some wood actually might, as wood's coming out of the table saw, I'm wondering if it would ever catch on those dog holes or not. I don't know if it would or not. If you've had any experience with that, leave a comment down below. Have you had any problems with wood coming off the table saw actually catching onto the dog holes and when it, you know, kind of creating a little bit of a snag point? And also my other thought was I'll probably put my planer on top here sometimes when I'm planing, and the dog holes will allow small chips and sawdust to fall right through, and I'm not really sure if I want that or not. So for now I'm going to leave the dog holes out of this, off this table. I can always add them easily later on if I want to. So I think that's probably all for this project. Yeah, another one in the books. Yeah. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for coming along and watching this build. This is another exciting build for me. I really enjoy seeing my shop become more functional, and also I like the looks, the aesthetics of these 2 tables now too. That adds to my shop. I really like that. So thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day.